Hi there, Tim with Madrona Labs. Today we're going to be talking about the key module in Kaivo up here in the left-hand corner under my cursor. The key module is what receives all of the MIDI information from your MIDI controller or your DAW, and then it routes it into the rest of Kaivo's modules to be used as control signals. We have a drop-down menu here with a bunch of different tuning tables. Starting out on the default, it is the 12 equal, which is 12 tone equal temperament. It's the basis for most modern Western music. There are far too many tuning tables and scales and modes in here to go through individually. You can actually add tuning files in .scl format, or you can build your own using a free software called Scala, and I will put a link to that in the video description. So now we have the voice controls here. The one labeled voices, you can see goes from 1 to 8. Basically, this is the amount of voices you can have, so you can have some polyphony. Here I have the Linstrument set up. So let's just put it in the pan for a second and let's turn that up. So now you can see there are 4 separate lines going into that dial. What does that mean? Well, those represent the 4 voices that we have. So if I turn that up to 8, now we can see we will get 8 different voices going into the pan. Next up, we have the bend section. This control lets you set the amount that the pitch output varies when MIDI pitch bend messages are received. It's calibrated in semitones, so that's what 2 is here. And it goes all the way up to 24. So let's just, let's hold a chord down here. So that's me bending my pitch wheel all the way up or all the way down. So that's bringing it, up or down to 2 semitones, but it goes all the way up to 24. So let's check out the difference here. And one thing to keep in mind, when it's set to 24, that's technically 48 because you go up 24 or down 24. So next up we have the glide section. Right now at 0, if I play a middle C and then go up 2 octaves, it's just a hard transition there. Now when I bring this up, it goes up by 5 seconds total. So again, middle C to 2 octaves up. So let's set that down here at just, let's do a half a second here. Next up is the Unison button. This just toggles on or off unison mode. Unison mode takes it from a polyphonic synthesizer into a monophonic synthesizer. So let's just check out the difference here with the simple chord progression. Very simple, but it's a nice way to get big, fat monophonic sounds because each one of these 8 voices, or depending on how many voices you have chosen in the voices section, all layer up to create a huge sound. So usually if you have 4 oscillators and they're all playing the same note, you could get, it'll sound kind of quiet because you can get some phase cancellation. So Kaivo actually has programmed into it some slight frequency drift between the different oscillators to prevent any phase cancellation. And the final control, before we get to the outputs, is the mod CC number. This control lets you select which continuous control signal is coming out of the various outputs. So as you can see here, we have this blue line down at the bottom on the Linstrument. That's going to basically be our mod wheel. So you can see the mod wheel lighting up as I press that. So let's put that into the overlap control and then And then we have these +1 and +2. So basically these +1 and +2, they represent whatever number you have chosen here. So in this case 1, then +1 would be 1 + 2, 2, and then 1 + 2 would be 3. And those numbers 2 and 3, corresponding to +1 and +2, would line up with whatever your MIDI controller's dial or button or key was assigned to 2 and 3. So if you go all the way up to 68, then +1 is going to be 69, +2 is going to be 70. So let's talk about the outputs. We have pitch, gate, velocity, Vox, after, and then the mods that we just talked about. Obviously, the pitch controls the pitch. So you press a key, I press a middle C, I get a middle C. And just a quick reminder to patch the pitch or any of these outputs into an input, you simply put your cursor over there, grab it, and just put it into any one of the parameters you want to control. So here I'll put it into the resonator pitch as well. The final thing to note about the pitch output has to do with the granulator and the resonator, which are both calibrated to change in a 1 volt per octave scaling when they are both set to their default values. Next up is the gate output, and you'll notice that when I press a key and hold it down, the gate light stays illuminated, and then when I let go, it stops. So it's really great for triggering envelopes if you want to play, kind of standard piano style. It's also really good to use for starting or stopping something or re-triggering a different module. The next output is the velocity output, which sends a signal proportional to the velocity of the incoming MIDI note. So I've got the velocity going into the non-linear input on the resonator. So with light presses, you can see little change there, and then you really smash it and it goes all the way up. And the signal maintains its value each time the key is released. Next up is the Vox output. This one's really, really interesting. It sends a signal proportional to the number of voices that you have selected. It's a very, very cool control signal. So let's get a simple chord progression going. The after output sends polyphonic aftertouch for each key. So if you have a controller with aftertouch, then that's where that signal is going to come out. So we've got an envelope controlling our level here, but let's run our aftertouch into the level. So when you have a controller that has aftertouch, you can use the pressure in which you are using to press the key to open your gate. And then I covered what the mod CC dial here does, and then these are those outputs. So before we wrap up this video on the key module, I do want to note that if you have something like this controller here in the video, the Linstrument, this is an MPE controller, so that has a bunch more features on it. And in order to use that, you go to Input Protocol here on the settings, go to MIDI MPE. Now watch the key module. You'll notice that MIDI changed to MPE here, and then we don't have the +1 or +2, but rather an X and Y. Depending on the controller, you may have to adjust some settings. I won't get too into the weeds here with the Linstrument and the key module because there is already a video that covers how to use the Linstrument with Alto from Madrona Labs, and its key module works the same way as Kaivo's. but I just wanted to mention it here. I will link that video in this video's description. So that is the key section. Thank you so much for watching. For more information about all things Madrona Labs, head over to the website in the video description and stay tuned for the next video that will be covering the sequencer. Thanks for watching.